hello, and welcome to the I'm Just Saying podcast. My name is Andrea Clinton, and I am your host. We're rocking and rolling. Hello, Clarence Williams. How are you? I know I left some.
Doing great.
I'm good. I know I left some part of your name off, so tell us your whole name and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm actually the fourth. So I'm Clarence Williams IV. Originally from the East Coast, now residing in the West Coast. I'm a filmmaker, writer, director, editor, producer. Wear a lot of different hats. Been doing this since I was 10 years old, and haven't stopped since.
I hear you. Cool. So now tell me a little bit about school. When did you said you've been doing this since how? Oh wait, that just flew right past me.
I've been doing this since I was 10 years old. That's when I made my first movie.
Okay, so tell us about that. How that came about. Like, are you related to someone, Clarence Williams, the actor?
No, I get that question like all the time, but no, my dad, his name happened to be Clarence Williams III as well. But everyone always thinks I'm the son of the actor, but no relation.
Look into it. Check those roots. You never know.
Yeah. So, so I was 10 years old. I made a movie about the history of Georgia, for a history class that I was taking back then. So my mom, she helped me, because back then I was, a little kid, so it wasn't a whole lot that I knew how to do. So my mom was helping me. I was actually in the movie. I wrote the script for it, and my mom and I would kind of rotate between filming because she was also in the movie. So I was wearing a lot of hats. That was the first time I kind of learned about what it means to edit and, trying to like assemble a movie and see it come alive from beginning to end. And I remember premiering the movie for my classmates and everything. And I remember everyone was just like, whoa, like you made this, Clarence, this is really cool. And of course, looking back, the movie's probably, garbage now because, I was a 10-year-old kid. But back then I was like, oh yeah, this is cool. So that was kind of like where my love of film was born. And, ever since I just been, constantly writing scripts, shooting projects, and, just getting better and just, taking it more and more seriously as I get older. And, it's just one of my passions. It's something that I'm really, really in love with.
Did you go to college for film?
So actually, I did not. I went to a theater school. I went to Carnegie Mellon University. So I was a directing major, but it wasn't directing for film. It was directing for theater. So it's a very well-known theater school. But I went there because I felt like, studying theater will kind of help me relate to actors and kind of articulate my my vision to a team in a way that at least in my opinion, that I think film school wouldn't teach me. And in that school, as directing majors, we also took acting classes. So we really were able to kind of get into the shoes of actors and learn how to, talk to them, work with them, communicate with them. And of course, being a filmmaker, I was always making films while I was at school, but I never actually went to a film school.
Like, have you ever felt like, wow, maybe if I would have went to film school, I would have known that or I would have learned that? Have you ever had any of those kind of experiences?
Not really, because I did go to a film school. I went to like New York Film Academy when I was in high school. So when I was like, I think I was like 14, 15. So I did have a little bit of experience, just kind of like learning like the film terms and, camera terms and the editing process, things like that. So I think, comparing that to my time at Carnegie Mellon, I still think I'm actually very happy I went the theater school route. And I also think a lot of my work as well kind of has a theatricality to it. And I think that's because I went to a theater school. So like my films, I'm a big dialogue guy. I like dialogue driven work. I like character driven work. I like stuff where you really follow the character and the story is more so driven by the character as opposed to, they're on this mission, they have to save this person and, explosions and, huge action scenes. So I think I definitely value the tools that I learned at theater school.
What crew roles do you do? What's your thing?
So when I was first making movies, I was literally just a one-man crew. So I would operate the camera, wrote the scripts. Sometimes I would act in it as well. Also do the editing, also do the producing, assembling, my cast, the people that I would work with. So I was doing a lot of that. When I as I got a little older, I actually now kind of stepping away from the camera. So I actually have a team, like a team of, a cinematographer, gaffer, grip, people that, this is what they do. Like this is their passion. And they kind of can take my project to the next level in a way that I wouldn't be able to do by myself. So I don't really operate the camera or anything anymore, but I still, write. I write a majority of my, almost all of my projects, edit all of my projects, direct, still do producing. And yeah, so those are kind of like my main area right now. So it's writing, directing, editing, and producing.
You've written your script is done, and now it's time to go into pre-production. Tell us your process.
Usually what I do after the script is done, I'm a big movie lover, so I love to watch movies. So sometimes I'll watch some of my favorite movies, or I'll watch a movie that has like a similar style as the script that I've written to kind of just, get some ideas, get into that headspace. So that, and then of course, I don't really do storyboards or shot lists. How I like to work is I'll get to the space, and then I kind of block out the scene with the actors and see like what works best for them, what feels natural. And then from there with my DP, we'll kind of craft the, the shot list and how shots should go. So that's kind of like the process on all the projects I've made so far. That's kind of how I operate. So I definitely am very collaborative. I love to see what works best with for my actors and for my crew, just so we're all on the same page, and we're creating the best content possible. So that's usually the pre-production phase for me. It's kind of just watching. Then from there, assembling my team, of course, whether it be like actors or the crew, watching films to kind of get into that mindset, and then from there, just kind of showing up and getting it done.
Have you ever done a shot list or storyboard?
So the only time I really did that was back when I was at in high school, when I was at the New York Film Academy. I did spent a summer there at their film program. So there we were required to kind of do storyboard shot lists. But aside from that, no, I like to just kind of get there and kind of walk through what blocking works best for my actors and my crew members. And then from there, we just kind of craft what we want to do. So, maybe down the line, I may shot list or storyboard, but for right now, like this is the kind of the process that works best for me.
It does. Okay. All right. Because my next question was going to be, is there something tedious about storyboarding and doing a shot list that you think may hinder the process, or do you just kind of want to get there and freestyle it?
Yeah, I kind of like the freestyle. So not that there's anything wrong with, shot listing or doing storyboards, especially if you have like a, heavy action piece, things that require a lot of moving parts. Of course, that can definitely be the way to go. But I think for me, sometimes you can lose the organicness of a scene if it's like, okay, they have to walk this way and sit down on this line and get up on that line. So I prefer to I like to be kind of spontaneous when it comes to blocking and preparing shots. Because sometimes you'll arrive to a location or you'll lose a location. So you have a storyboard for a specific location and then you lose that spot. You can't film there anymore. So then you're kind of back to square one. So I kind of like to think about all those things, take those things into consideration, especially as an indie filmmaker. Like you can lose a location the day of filming, or you can lose it, so anything can happen. So I kind of like to stay on my toes so that in the event that something goes wrong, I'll be able to kind of adjust instead of like freaking out and just like, oh no, the movie's ruined. We can't do this. So, yeah.
Sometimes I think it's difficult because the producer has the overall picture, right? Even the director, everything. So you make lemonade out of lemons, you make Kool-Aid, right, out of whatever you got. Right. So I definitely get that whole change the location thing.
Like, yes, that's the indie motto. I was like, you have to be ready, prepare for the worst, and got to stay on your toes and don't let it break you.
You cannot marry a location. That's what I learned. That was my takeaway. I do storyboard, I do shot lists, but I do it a little different. I actually just did a shot list with pictures, and I found that was better than my little stick figures.
Yeah, I used to do those too. I used to, yeah, I had the stick figures.
Yeah, and my professor told me, like, who cares as long as we can read, but my handwriting sucks. So
Me too.
I have to just go Google pictures and put people in places, and you know. So that's my new thing. I did it with a 1 minute that we're gonna film. I think it's 3 minutes that we're gonna film, and that works. Do you have a thing? You know how Spike Lee has a thing, and Tarantino's thing is the blood squibs or whatever. Do you have a thing when it comes to lighting, or do you do it according to the script or the story?
Yeah, I don't really have specific lighting, like a specific lighting philosophy or like a way that I have to light. I usually always just kind of collaborate with my cinematographer, and we kind of just figure out like what would be the best look for the movie.
Mhm.
So I'm actually not one of those directors like it has to look like this. We need green here. We need this. I'm more so like I just want to make sure we can see everything that's happening. You know, the characters are lit well, especially working with Black actors. You see a lot of movies where they're poorly lit, especially actors with darker skin tones. So my main focus is just making sure we look good, making sure everything is seen and clear, and then maybe we can get a little fancy because I've kind of done both. So with like a movie like His Pain, that was very like a colorful movie, but that was because the DP that I worked with on that project, she's like a very colorful. She likes to kind of she likes the brightness, and she likes kind of like almost like a painting or almost like a video game. So her mindset is very much like, oh, let's kind of make this stylish. But from my last project, the DP that I worked with, she was more so we're gonna make this kind of create more of a natural look, reflective based on what the actual sunlight can create for us. So yeah, so I dibble and dabble in terms of my lighting looks. So yeah, I don't have a specific like a Clarence Williams film will not like look one way. You know what I mean? So I'm very much interested in playing with playing with things and seeing what the best look we can create would be.
Yeah, see, I'm like that also. I would rather tailor it toward the script. But for some reason, and it could be because I don't really like coloring, like I hate something that gets me so wrapped up that I can't see straight after some hours. And that's what coloring does to me. And I get like I get to a point I'm like, is it too much color? It's not. And for me, when you look at it too long, eventually I think you lose sight of what's too much and what's not. And I mean, that's how it is for me. I've seen some people, I'm like, did you really mean for it to be like that is a really bright green? And they're like, yeah. Like it's kind of hard. And no, yeah, that's what so I guess that's what they want. I don't know if they're where I am, but they're just a little delusional, or if they purposely just like it that dark. But I've noticed, like you said, I've noticed some people, my son, for example, I noticed he likes color. I just want it to look real. I want it to look natural and real. And I don't sometimes perking somebody's shirt up, or now I don't mind what you do to the skin tone, because I know Black people, what we're learning is not to be afraid of color. I don't think we ever were, but everybody's learning that, Black people do well when you give them color. It really comes over well.
Yeah, they look great. We look great.
Yeah. And so I'm glad that they realized that. So I don't have a problem with the skin tone, but I don't feel like the shirt has to be like, just because it's red, we got to make it bright,
Yeah, I know.
You know,
like, you don't need to do all that.
Yeah, I'm not one of those. So speaking of, working with your DP, do you have a specific DP you work with every time, or do you kind of, freelance it?
Yeah, so for now, I've been kind of freelancing it. So I do have DPs that I've worked with on multiple projects, but I've actually worked with a whole array of DPs from the time I first, after I put the camera down and started working with other people. I've actually have quite a bit of DPs that I've worked with. Everybody's different. I've always I'm like to consider myself like an easygoing person, so I haven't really had like many clashes with the people that I work with. But sometimes it's like I just am curious of working with somebody else just to see what they can bring to a project. So yeah, so I don't, as of now, I don't have like a go-to like, this is the DP I'm going to use for every single project. But I do have a lot of like talented people that I know that I'm like, oh hey, I have this project for you, or hey, how about this one? You can work on this one together. Yeah, so it's all about just kind of building that team.
Yeah, And that's good too. I don't know. It's good both ways, but the good thing about getting somebody new and different, I think different people bring different things out of you, and I
Right.
think if the director truly understands what the director DP relationship should be, then they can really benefit from it. And I'm speaking to myself first because as much as I know the importance of the director and the DP working together, I have a partner and I am stuck on him like glue. Now, don't get me wrong, my son is often my DP, but
Right.
for the Cassidy series, I partnered with my DP, Abdul Rahim. And Laura, can I tell you, he spoiled me. Like whatever I want, he just gets it. And then if he feels in his spirit that something is not right, he will tell me. And then what we do, we've agreed that we will get both. We'll get what I wanted, and then we'll do what because he's telling me something technical, and I
Right.
might be being a little stubborn because in my brain I think it's going to work a certain way. And there was one time that I didn't listen. And when I looked at that footage, I said, from now on, we're going to do like he
Yeah.
said. And we're going to, because I had said to him, we'll just do both. But in this particular time, he said, okay, so we'll do that. Come on. And then we got ready. And I wish that I would have done both like we agreed, because
Right.
the light is so lit that I just don't know if it's going to come off good. Something in my spirit says we might have to film it again, because he had it where it was going to be like a nice it was just a natural, and it wouldn't have been hard to color. I could have maybe gave a little saturation, but I told him I wanted to go blue, and Lord have mercy, the way that sun hits off that blue.
Mm-hmm.
So that
Yeah.
director DP relationship is excellent, and that leads me to the next thing. What do you look for when you're looking for a DP?
Well, firstly, just somebody that is easy to work with, somebody that is down for collaboration, someone that's not afraid to share their ideas. Because as a director, I don't think it's my job to just dictate everything. Like, nope, we're doing it my way, and that's it. I want people that are like, oh, well, how about we consider? Yeah, like, have you thought about this shot, or what if we get this, or maybe we should do another one of this. I'm all for stuff like that. So I like people that are, outgoing, willing. They work well with others. They're okay to kind of take a step back if they're in the wrong about something, just like the same way I would, or I would expect anyone else to.
Mm-hmm.
There's no egos. Everybody, we're all working together for the greater good of cinema,
Mm-hmm.
as they say. So yeah, that's kind of what I would look for when working with cinematographers.
What type of quality control process do you have, or do you have one? As far as
In
like
terms of like food,
yeah, like you're in post now. You've already filmed it. How do you know what process do you have to say, okay, it passed the quality control, thumbs up, let's go. Let's do some festivals. What's your
well, I
process?
think. Well, for me, I'm kind of obsessive. So I'll just watch. Sometimes I'll just watch the movie as a whole over and over, or I'll just watch like a specific scene just to make sure it sounds right, or just to make sure like this one thing is in focus. So I kind of get in my head sometimes when it comes to that. Like I'll just like keep watching and watching and watching it. And I think the way I determine it is if I can just watch it all the way through and not say anything, or not have to stop and like go back and look at something, then that's how I know that it's ready. Because there's sometimes I'm literally just like, I'll be like just for hours, like looking at that. Okay, going again. Okay, like just the same thing. I guess it's just like the filmmaker. I mean, I'm sure you can relate to just like wanting something to just be perfect, and you're just like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, let me see it one more time. Okay, let's add this, or let's go back and tweak that. So, but I think when I'm able to just sit back, watch it, and just be like, okay, I'm okay with that. That's how I know we can lock it. It's good to go. We can start taking it to festivals, all that good stuff.
You're better than me. I don't know. It's always like I need some kind of push, some kind of urgency to make me say stop already. I never,
Right.
I never seem to know. That's what I mean about the coloring. I don't like to do it because I don't know when to stop. I go back and forth. Just too much. I just don't even want to do it. But
Yes, I know what you mean.
yeah, but as far as the quality control thing, I send it to people because I just don't trust myself. And then sometimes they'll say what I was thinking. Like, one time I with Cassidy, I didn't want to, we didn't film it in the raw, which I hate filming in raw because I hate relying on colors. And
Yeah.
so I just added a little saturation to it. And my son was like, just add saturation because he knows I hate coloring. And so, so I did it and it was fine with me. All right. Now, Clarence, the movie I've been waiting to talk about, His Pain. Let's talk about it.
A movie like His Pain, that's not something that I personally have gone through, but it was something loosely that the protagonist of the film, his name is Kent Davis. He also produced the film. It was loosely kind of based on his experiences and him wanting me to kind of bring it to life. And actually, ironically enough, I had made a movie back when I was in high school about domestic violence, in which the guy was the victim. But once it was a high school movie, so it wasn't really, anything that great. But the title of it was called His Pain, and I always liked that title, so that's why I renamed this one His Pain. All right, so let's just dive in. Let's go in. I've been waiting to get to this film. So let me tell you why my interest. First of all, the film His Pain is excellent. I love it. Oh, thank you.
It's so different. I promise you, I'm starting a film festival. And had you put that in my film festival, people would be in trouble because they would have to really measure up.
Thank you.
Yeah, because the thing is not only was it different, although abuse is common, however, everything about the film was different. The role reversal, where it's the man who's being abused as opposed to the woman, and physically, mentally, and psychologically. It just, everything about it was just different. It hit multiple beats in my brain and in my spirit. And I tell you, that was the first thing. That's the thing that grabbed me the most. The next thing that got to me, and it's so weird, Alex, my assistant's probably going to say, here she goes again, because I have more ideas for scripts than I get a chance to finish. When this happened to me before, I wanted to produce a script that I had that was based on two couples that come together and niceties start out and then all hell breaks loose, right? And it was for theater. And I did not finish it in time and I got a grant. So I had to hurry up because they had a deadline that I had to use the grant and the theater only had certain dates. So I hurried up and I licensed Yasmina Reza's play God of Carnage, because it was very similar to my play. And I really wanted to do my play. So I got something very close to it. And I licensed it from her and or one of the publishers she uses, and I produced it. And so when I saw His Pain, I was like, oh my God, because I have a script that I have had for probably over 20 years that I have not been able to do anything with because my brain could not fathom a man being abused. I've heard it, but I couldn't fathom it. And I was just like, because in my brain, it's always the physical abuse. Whenever you hear, abusive relationship, you go straight to the physical. And I have counseled people, I have helped people because I have a nonprofit organization, but I have just not, seen enough. I haven't seen a lot of physical abuse. That's first. And then I haven't seen any abuse with men, any. And so when I saw His Pain, it was almost like God had opened the cloud and said, this is how it could happen. And I was like, wow, okay, because I've been enlightened. So although I have other scripts already, on the pipeline, so I can't jump to that first, but I pulled it in my mind. I pulled it out of the file drawer and moved it up closer because I said, I did not consider verbal abuse and mental abuse. And so I want to thank you first and foremost for that, for just kind of like showing me, because my script is mostly done. And it does happen in the hood. And I think that was also part of the problem, because when we see guys from the hood, we see them as tough and rough. And even if they're schoolboy type that, are in business, but still want to live in their community, we just see them as having a certain something to where a woman would not abuse them. And so, like I said, thank you. So let's get to the film.
Mr. Kent is somebody that I've known since I was in high school. He's watched like my work and he's seen me kind of grow as a filmmaker. So he had reached out to me and said like he was interested in doing a project about domestic violence, but the man was the victim. And, you know, me, I always love stories where you kind of see male vulnerability, because I feel like there's a lot, especially as a Black man, you know, you're taught you got to be tough, you got to be this, you can't cry, you can't be sad, you can't be emotional. So I always like kind of playing with that in my work. So I like to show male characters that are sensitive, that do express their feelings, that, you know, they'll let you know if they're upset by something, they're okay. It's okay for them to cry, things like that. So that's like a story like that is right up my alley. And also because I already made a film about domestic violence back when I was in high school anyway. Mm-hmm. So it was just, I was able to already revisit that. And it's also like, I think it's interesting that you were saying like, you can't see a guy being abused. And I think that was really the point of why I wanted to make this, because you hear that a lot. I hear it all the time. People laugh. You know, if a guy said like the girlfriend is you know, has beat them up, or the girlfriend, they're afraid of their girlfriend, people think it's funny. Like, oh, you're afraid of a girl? Like, what, you know? So it's very, a lot of guys are embarrassed to come forward and share these stories, because they think that because they're a man, they're weak. They think it's weak to, you know, to show emotion. But I think it's the opposite. I think that shows strength in yourself if you're able to come forward and say, yeah, I was abused by my wife or my girlfriend or my mom. You know, I was abused by a woman. It happens all the time. But I think because, you know, the stigma of, you know, a guy shouldn't be getting pushed around or bullied by a woman, you know, people think it's a joke. Mr. Kent he didn't even really go in too much depth about like what he went through. But the rest of the movie was just me. I was just thinking about like different scenarios of how the abuse could play out. And it's like you said too, it's not just physical, it's emotional, it's verbal, you know, it's being called names, it's being made to feel like you're, you know, less of a person, you know, being talked down to. So all of that is forms of abuse. So I kind of just wanted to explore, and it, you know, it's a short, so I couldn't really go crazy in depth, but I did want to at least get a little bit of a taste of, you know, what this character was going through. And then I also wanted to give a backstory for the wife, the Beverly character as well. So you kind of understand why she does the things she does. She's deeply insecure. She's been hurt in the past by guys, and she's not able to let it go. So she projects all of that anger onto her husband. And he's, you know, a mild-mannered guy, so he's not really confrontational. So he's just like, he takes it until, unfortunately, or not unfortunately, but until he can't take it anymore, and, you know, has to take a stand.
Yeah. I listen, that movie, I watched it twice when I first saw it. And I think I first saw it last year. I watched it twice because I was just baffled. Like, first of all, the acting was really good. And I promise you, I always felt like there was something in the actor's eye. The way that he deals with it. Did you see it when you were directing?
Oh yeah. One of the things that because a lot of people have watched his pain, and a lot of people the people that have reached out to me, they say like the first thing they say is, oh, I felt so bad for him, or he, you know, poor guy. So I think he definitely he played the vulnerability of it like spot on. Like even watching it, I felt bad, even though I wrote it. Like I know it's not real. Watching it, I was like, oh yeah, you know, you feel for him, because, you know, he just seems like such a nice guy. It's like, look at, you know, what he's going through. So no, I think he did a really good job of you know, playing the softness and the passiveness, the vulnerability of that character.
And so the people that called you, they were saying that they were there when it happened with him, or they were talking about the film?
No, this meant like the film as a whole. They're like, as audience members watching it, they like felt bad for him and felt bad for his character, not like him in real life. But felt bad for the character, and you know, they were just like, oh, like, you know, because the character's name is Carver, so they're like, poor Carver, and you know, I wanted to, you know, stand up to her. I wanted him to do this. So they definitely were invested, which is great.
Let me tell you something. He tapped into something somewhere, because I also, as well as direct, I will be sort of kind of a little bit of an acting coach to actors, only because I know what I look for in my actors. And I do push the envelope because although I did started directing in film first, most of my experience came from theater because I went to grad school. So I push my actors, and I had a good professor who pushes. She will go above and beyond to push, and I picked that up from her. And so when I see actors bring excellence, I love it. And I can tell he tapped into somewhere. Because even I tried to look at a few minutes of it, before we interviewed. And even the look that he has in the beginning when he first comes in and she asks him that, unbutton your pants or whatever, he has this look in his face that gives like 10 different thoughts going through his head. It's like, this bee is crazy. It's like she's out of her mind. It's what the heck is wrong with her? You could just see it all in his face, all in his eyes. And don't get me wrong, it wasn't hard because she was a great actress.
Yeah, no, she was
brings it.
Yeah, she was great. She was
I loved her acting. Like, let me tell you something. I said to myself, oh, I would hope to work with her because she really bought it. I mean, I would love to work with both of them, but what got me with her was oh my God, like she just got into the character, and to me the dementedness of the character, because it was driving her to say and do almost everything that came out of her mouth. And as a person who knows a little something about carrying your baggage with you, her baggage is locked and loaded on her back, her head, her shoulders. Because when she finally gives us the monologue about what happened, and which pretty much tells us why she is the way she is now. And I'll watch it with me and Alex. I'll make sure we watch it once we finish the interview. And I know she's interested now. But
I actually did see this. You did send this to me
before. I sent it before, right?
And I was not gonna want to interrupt or anything, but I did enjoy it very much. It was a very
thank you for watching.
Yeah, it was. Listen, we do a lot of plays that deal with a whole lot of drama, and recently on Film Tip we did more so comedy aside from the human trafficking project that we're doing. So we haven't really been around a lot of drama a lot lately because Cassidy is a series and it's been a lot of laughter. So when I watch good drama, oh my God, I'm ready to go back. And I tell you something, films like yours definitely take me there.
Thank you so much.
That was beautiful. So I have a couple more questions before we go. All right. So the red lighting, what was your inspiration for that?
So that was actually just something that wasn't even really planned. So like the look of his pain wasn't even really planned at all. It was just something my DP that I worked with on that project, she kind of brought a lot of different gels and lights. Mm-hmm. And I kind of just let her set up what she was thinking. And she just had like these blues and these greens and these reds, and it ended up working very well. Like especially in like the opening scene, there's kind of like the red that Beverly is wearing. And then so kind of like is almost like this like devilish, like sinister, presence. And my DP also colored the movie as well. So she really brought out those colors. And you notice like on the Carver character, his colors are more kind of calm, passive. So, and that was, once again, that was something that we did. There was no real like prep or like, how do you want this to look? It was just like, she already had it with her. And when she set it up, I was like, oh, like, yeah, I like it. And I got one of my favorite things that I've ever shot was like the bedroom scene, because I think the way she lit it, it reminded me of the Moonlight poster. Mm-hmm. So kind of like that purplish, like bluish, greenish color. And I thought that looked really, really, really great. So it was. I can't even. I'm not gonna sit here and take credit and say yes, we planned that. And that was like happy accidents.
No, I get it. And you're right. The bedroom scene, it was something about it that I was like, oh my God, they are doing a good job with these colors. When I saw it, I'm not going to lie to you though, the one that took me first and that really stuck to me, even when I'm not thinking about, when I say, okay, wow, yeah, this reminds me of his pain, right? And then I start thinking about it. I promise you, I go straight in that room with that red light. I go straight in that room because she was so nice coming in there. She wasn't even trying to be extra sexy. She was just trying to be nice after that crap she just did. And the messed up thing was the red light was kind of foreshadowing, like, don't trust this heifer. Don't trust her. And honestly, maybe I get a little too deep into it, but that's what I was sitting there saying to myself when I first saw it. I was like, oh God, because by now I've learned that she's a pistol, and so the red light I felt was kind of warning me. And so when it didn't kind of go where I thought, I was like, it's gonna sneak up on me, and sure enough, the next scene it did. It snuck right up on me, and then everything after that was just bonuses.
Right, exactly right.
It was bonuses, and trust me, that was really good. So, what can you tell some of the people out there? And I'll have you back on again so we could talk about others of your films. But honestly, I just needed to get to the nitty gritty about his pain because that was just so different. What can you tell audience members about this film? Things they should look for, or just something that you just want them to know going in looking at it.
Well, honestly, just to try not to watch it with the idea that it's not realistic or that this doesn't happen, because unfortunately, domestic violence, it doesn't discriminate, man, woman, race, like none of that matters. Like a lot of people are victims of stuff like this. So I think just watching it and not thinking, because actually I screened this, I was at a film festival with His Pain, and actually the audience was laughing. Like
really?
there was laughter, and I was like looking around like, that's not funny. But so there were some people that I think they were just like, oh, this guy's being abused. Like it's not, this is something that does happen to a lot of people everywhere, everywhere in the world. So
I think honestly, I have to say to you, the only way I could see someone laughing is if their brain can't fathom it. And so some people think, how people think they can rewrite history? I think they thought they were going to write it in their mind how it is, It's not real. What is it? I don't see this. I don't know this. That's what, and it was shock. And so I think, like I said, for a split second, I can see them trying to, like how they rewrite history, I can see them trying to, in their mind, write how this film is, because this is not real. This can't be.
Right.
You don't get me wrong, I have seen, and actually in one of my scripts, I never wanted to say anything, and I think part of the reason why I didn't put my script out sooner, granted I wrote it years ago, but the people were alive then that inspired it. I literally watched someone who a female come from a big family. She was spoiled. For years before her mother had the youngest daughter, she was a girl among about 6 or 7 boys. Some of them were in and out of jail. And I think it kind of got to her because, that she came from a big family, not just that her mother had a lot of kids, but her mother's mother had a lot of kids. So she had a lot of uncles and a lot of cousins. So, touching her was like a death wish. And so she gets with a good guy, and instead of doing him right, she, is just off the hook, and she keeps going back and forth between doing things in the hood and trying to live right. And in between that, she's taking him through the hell. So that's what her mental health was. But I just couldn't grab hold of a male character enough that would, one, date somebody that they know comes from that kind of background, if they're living right, haven't done well for themselves, and then who would stay with her enough for, this abuse. And that's why I always said that, I did write just for the sake of writing, but I did say that before I polish it, I'm going to have to interview men. Even if I can't find a man who will admit that he was abused, I'm going to have to interview men to say, do you know, those who knew someone who was maybe laid back and mild-mannered and was, abused in that way. Yeah, that is a serious situation. So I just want to say thank you. Any final last words, and then, give us your social media and where we can find you in your other films?
Yeah, so I guess his last words is, well, firstly, just thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for even watching my films in the first place. And I guess just words of, all aspiring filmmakers. I kind of just say the standard feel good stuff, just don't give up. Don't let anybody tell you can't do this, because you can, write what you have access to. So, if you live in a garage, write a scene in a garage. If you have some friends that like to act, or if you want to act, don't be afraid to do it. Just always remember the importance of sound. I like to always stress that. Make sure you have good sound with your movies, because that is always going to be a deal breaker when it comes to festivals, distribution, all that stuff. So they can forgive, cinematography that isn't that best, but when it comes to sound and audio, that has to be, muy bien. And aside from that, just have fun and keep at it.
So listen, tell everybody where they can find you on social media.
Yeah, so I am available at C the 4. So the letter C, THE, and then the number 4. I have some stuff on YouTube. Just type in Clarence Williams IV. Also have some films available on Amazon Prime. So also just type in my name, Clarence Williams IV, and you should see some stuff pop up. Then I'm shooting another project at the end of this month. So I'm trying to stay busy. Those should be available soon. I'll definitely be sending it to you to check out. And
please.
So that's all I got. But thank you so much for your time, and thank you for having me on your show.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much.
You've been listening to I'm Just Saying with Andrea and friends. If you enjoyed today's show, be sure to share, because sharing is caring. Like, comment. Also, if you never want to miss an episode, subscribe, baby.